What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another special episode of Path to a Million podcast. I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Stephen Franson. What's up, Doc?
What's up, Dr. Nick?
What's going on, man? We just posted the interview from Phoenix, and it made me so nostalgic and sad.
Oh man, that was our last trip, dude. That was it.
No, I mean, like shaking hands and everything. It was nuts.
But we went out with a bang, man. That was quite a place. I mean, I think we saw ground zero of COVID-19, didn't we? I mean, that place was
we're recording this in like late May, and the 𝘆𝗲𝗍 pool party for Memorial Day just happened, and like the state of Missouri literally was just like, hey guys, when you go home, make sure you quarantine for 2 weeks because there's no way you did not get COVID from that pool party. That's what the W Hotel in Scottsdale was like that weekend.
Oh, that was sketchy at best. Unbelievable.
Can't wait to do it again soon.
Not getting in that pool there, Dr. Nick. That was great. Great restraint.
Can't wait to do it again soon, though. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
So the reason why I brought you back so quickly is because you've been just knocking it out of the park with it's called the Phoenix Plan. And so as soon as this stuff hit, you know, my office, we closed like March 15th was like the tipping point for everything. It seemed like that's when everybody started to like really get scared and take it seriously, and like things started to shut down. So we spent a week doing all of the like, you know, one in, one out, wiping down the tables, all of that. And then we decided as a team to close, and we were closed for 4 weeks before we opened back up about a month ago. And I mean, you guys were on it that first week. The Phoenix Plan, like the rumblings of it had begun, like the first part, the stabilization piece. And so I wanted to bring you on because I just think that so many people need to hear about this that are not TRP doctors. So for those people that don't know who you are, just give them a brief synopsis because I'm already diving into stuff. So.
Yeah, so Dr. Stephen Franson from the Remarkable Practice. So I'm the founder of the Remarkable Practice and creator of this Phoenix Plan that you talk about. So yeah, Nick, I think to get to value for everybody straight away, I think what happened here was we all had this sort of shock and awe moment of what I'm calling like a Pearl Harbor experience, where it was sunny and pleasant in Honolulu until it wasn't, right? So we're coming off of, like a great 5, 6, 8 years. And then all of a sudden we get hit by this COVID crisis, and it impacted just everyone, all chiropractors. We've got chiropractic clients around the world, right? So we coach teams around, like literally all over the world. So this is a very unique situation that it impacted everyone and almost simultaneously. Of course, there's a little bit of a geographical lag, but it's everyone's problem. So what we did is we created this pivot, and the pivot's really based on a principle of leadership. And so we went from what's known as peacetime leadership to wartime leadership. Like peacetime leadership is very much so a strategic process. It's very much a creative process. It's about asking and unearthing, and it's very much this creative process, right? So Socratic, if you will. Wartime leadership is very different, right? So we go from strategic to tactical. We stop asking, we start telling. It's stop doing this, start doing that, and very action oriented. So in wartime, you've got to make a pivot, and it became very tactical focused. And we created this war plan for our clients in response to this changing environment, right? So this war plan is called the Phoenix Plan.
Well, I love it, and that's what I love about TRP is, we're kind of the same way at Leverage. Is as soon as this happened, it's like, okay, how can we change? Because our model that works great in peacetime isn't going to be relevant right now. So what can we be doing? What can we be tweaking to serve our clients? And you guys are always so good at that. And I thought you guys just knocked it out of the park with this stuff. So so let's go through that. The 3 parts are stabilization, reactivation, and mobilization. So let's start with the stabilization. So a lot of offices, I think, are probably maybe past this stage, but I think there's still a large percentage of offices, especially those that maybe don't have the support of a coaching group or are in some kind kind of structured program, they may still be floundering a little bit and be trying to stabilize that practice. So let's talk about that before we get into the reactivation piece.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, this, just to throw our arms around everyone, let's have a conversation that would, you know, be relevant to everyone, because there's a whole spectrum, like there's a whole continuum. We have doctors all over the world where, you know, some are on the far right-hand side of the bell curve where, you know, their businesses got hit, but they were down by, you know, 30%, maybe 20%. So they're back up to 90% or maybe pre-COVID numbers, right? So they were just frustrated and they were just, you know, eager to get back to growth, right? And then you get doctors in the middle, and the doctors in the middle that are like, man, you know, we took a hit and things got really, you know, wonky there for a while. We were down 40% or 60%, whatever, and they're starting to come back. And then we got other docs that were like, no, we were closed. like we shut down for, like you said, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Our doctors in New Zealand are just coming back, right? So closed for 10, 12 weeks. Can you imagine? It's like, so just wherever you are on this continuum, whether it's you're just like eager to get back to growth, or you're, you know, vacillating between frustrated and a little freaked out, or maybe you're like fully freaked out, this conversation's for you. So we're not going to make any assumptions on where you are. So picture this 3-stage program with this 3-phase plan as about a month long in each one of these phases. You know, so the first month, if you will, the first stage is about stabilization, which is all about stabilizing your business, like stop the bleeding and stabilize your patient base, stabilize your team, and stabilize you as the leader, right? So that's where we started. And then once everything's stabilized, then it's about shifting your focus towards reactivation, which is roughly 4 to 6 weeks after you've stabilized everything. Then as you move into reactivation. So when your community is ready, what they're hearing on the media, you know, is going to dictate whether they're actually listening and ready to hear it's time to get back in, right? So this is where we're going to reactivate the people that had been bumped out of the boat, so to speak, during this whole catastrophe, right? So those are what we call the missing in actions, right? So that's where most clients are right now. That's where most chiropractors are, is they're in throes of reactivating and going back to get their people, right? And then the third stage of this is mobilization, which is when it's going to be about going back outside of the office, whether that's virtually or actually, you know, it's doing it digitally or getting out into your community and starting to market again. And this marketing is really an extraordinary opportunity for chiropractors to get out and fill a gap. Like, as you know, Nick, in the, you know, content marketing business, the media has left a wicked information gap. The government, the modern medical world, I mean, there is a major information gap. There's a lot of confusion out there. People lack clarity, and we're going to be able to step right into that gap and provide a better way to better health. So super excited about mobilization.
Absolutely. So for the stabilization side of things, let's say, you know, I've got a friend who's in Manhattan and he stayed open the whole time, but he's at like 5, 10, 15 people a week. And he was a $2 million practice. So there's certain areas that are just either they are, there's not that many places, I think, for chiropractic that is still shut down, like, you know, Kentucky, Colorado, like everywhere's opened back up now. But there are still hot spots where people are just like not leaving their house. So for those that are still in that stabilization mode, what are the things that they need to be focused on right now?
Really 3 things. It's connection, direction, and collection, right? So making sure that you stay connected, right? So you've got to stay connected with your patients. You have to maintain the relationships. Times of crisis, you don't think about commerce, you think about relationship, right? So make sure you lean in on your relationship, maintain your role in their life. You're still the person that gives them their education, even if you're not the person that gives them their adjustments. So Nick, you know our job description, educate and adjust as many people as possible, right? So if you can't be adjusting them, you can still be educating them, right? So lean in on the education. Most of that, of course, is going to be done digitally. If digital is not going to work, pick up the phone, write them a letter, send them a pigeon. I don't care. Just stay connected with them. Add value through patient education, right? So stay connected. Then it's direction. Tell them what to do. This is what you need to start doing, stop doing, right? And the key to this is, if you're not going to be in here receiving your regular adjustments, then I'm going to give you home care and self-care so that you can do these things to mitigate some of the backsliding that happens between adjustments during this period, right? So you're empowering them with strategies and tactics that they can do at home to keep them from sliding backwards and losing their, you know, the progress that they've made in the chiropractic care, right? And then, of course, it's collection. It's like, you can monetize this. And we've been teaching such a great deal on virtual consultations. and leveraging virtual consultations. You know, if you haven't embraced this yet, you should. Truth is society has. In fact, it's virtual consultations like this, doing a, you know, I like this, a couple of platforms that I really like, but Zoom is actually a platform that you can use in most areas and still be compliant. They've really lightened up a lot of the HIPAA regulations right now to really encourage that people get their healthcare virtually, right? So being able to deliver virtual consultations it's a billable service, right? So you could deliver this in lieu of an actual office visit, right? You can do a virtual office visit, but you want to deliver these consultations virtually so you can maintain that connection, give the direction, and then also have a source of collection.
I love the the virtual is nice because there's going to be certain people that are going to want to continue doing that. Like instead of sitting in a room across the table talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes, they may be more comfortable doing that on Zoom. So that may allow you to get more people through the door, might allow you to get your ads clicked on more if you're offering virtual consultations instead of in person. So even, like we were utilizing that when we were closed, but it's still an option for new patients when they come in now.
Yeah,
it's so simple,
This is, sorry to interrupt you. This is the future, right? So it's COVID-19 will be known as the great fast forward button for technology. I love the Instagram meme you see going around right now that says, who in your business is going to be credited with the technology advancements in 2020? Is it going to be the CEO? Is it going to be the COO? Is it going to be the CTO? Or is it going to be COVID-19, right? So this is like COVID-19 is going to get credit for just hitting the fast forward button for everybody, just adopting these technologies. And the community is not only now accepting it, they're expecting it. So you're absolutely right. Doctors will be leveraging virtual consultations for new patients, for report of findings, for any type of special consultations, re-exam, re-reports, etc. Anything that doesn't require you to put your hands on people, we have our clients doing it already, and they are just doing awesome with it.
You know how that saying, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you?
Correct.
Like I am 100% convinced that COVID-19 happened for me to get people to learn how to use Zoom. Because before COVID-19, I would send them a link for like our strategy sessions, and they'd be like, I don't know how to use it. Now everyone knows how to use Zoom, and I couldn't be more happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is true for so many parts of your practice. And in our Remarkable CEO program, as you know, we're teaching everybody to look for these opportunities, which we call silver linings. And the silver linings is, here's an opportunity for you to make change. Anything you've been thinking about doing in your practice, now is the time to do it. It's going to be incredibly fluid. People are going to be expecting change. So any of those things, like you'd be like, man, I've always wanted to use hot seats and we weren't using those. Now we have hot seats. I always wanted to have a calling system for our patients, and now we have that. I always wanted to map out my patients, and now to control the number of people, we have to map out their scheduled appointments. I get everybody on electronic funds transfer and auto debit. Man, we always wanted to do that, right? Like all of those blessings, man, God's got a great plan, and this is always, as always, certainly part of it.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say before we move on was on the connection piece. You and I's one of our favorite people, Jenny Bruck, was a guest a couple weeks ago, and the reason I had her on is because we had that Zoom meeting with our mastermind 𝘗cie, and she did we did these 5-minute presentations, and she just did an awesome one on pouring into her team and how she's been connecting with her patients. And I wanted to do a deeper dive with her on that. And if you guys have not heard, if you haven't listened to that episode and you're wondering, if I call my patients, what should I say? Man, she gives so much good advice on that. And she's just so good at connecting with people that that I was just like, man, that was gold, what was coming out of her that day.
Yeah, Jenny's always been a savant with patient relationships and just investing in those relationships, which is why her patients stay forever, right?
That's right.
They're like crazy.
That's right. That's right. All right. So so hopefully everybody has stabilized at this point. Hopefully you are using some of those tools that were created in that stabilization process moving forward. And now where a lot of people are at right now is the reactivation phase. So let's dive into that one.
Yeah. So what I want to introduce is a concept called stacking. So as you transition from month to month, you're not letting go of one of these functions. Like you don't stop stabilizing and then start reactivating, right? you continue to stabilize and you stack reactivation on top of that, right? So I want everybody to recognize that we continue to stabilize all the way through. And frankly, Nick, we're going to be stabilizing for a while here, okay? That means adding value, right? So that people have clarity around exactly what is the value that you add in chiropractic, right? So why should I come and see you? Why are you open? Why are you seeing patients? Why should I be there? And I'm hoping that chiropractors are doing their best patient education of their career, right? You should be throwing fastballs, strikes right down the middle and changing the conversation, right? From, what everybody else is focusing on, which is the strength of the virus. We need to change the conversation and make it about the strength of the host, right? So this is the chiropractic conversation. It started during stabilization as you were putting out great content, either through direct communications, virtual consultations, your Facebook page, your content marketing strategies, everything you're doing, you're building value. Now, as we shift into our reactivation, the next phase, we're stacking those reactivation activities on top of there. It's on a sure footing. It makes sense. Now we're reaching back to those people and we're going to reactivate those people that have been bumped out of the raft, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
Now, in our experience, our analysis, there's really 4 reasons why people dropped away from their care, right? So number 1 reason was they're distracted, right? So we call it the distraction factor, right? So their lives are crazy and chaotic. Their kids are home from school. They're home from school, right? Everything's just crazy. So this is the person that's dropped out of care just because of chaos, right? Distraction factor. The second one is fear factor. They're afraid of catching the virus, right? They don't want to be exposed, so they're not coming out of their houses, right? So it's not that they're not just coming in for their care. They're not going anywhere, right? So that's the distraction factor. Number 3, this is the rule follower. There's a person that says, hey, governor says I should stay home, right? So I'm supposed to be sheltering in place. So I'm following the rules. I'm not going anywhere, right? And number 4 is the money factor, right? This is the person that's like, oh man, I lost my job. My spouse lost their job, whatever. I'm just freaked out about money. So I'm not coming in. So those are the 4 different categories of what we call the MIAs, or the missing in action. And those are the people that have dropped out of care since COVID began. All 4 of those scenarios call for 4 different conversations. So when you're reaching out to your people, you got to make sure that your team is trained and equipped to handle each one of those crucial communications elegantly. They want to be able to do those things gracefully and productively. Otherwise, it's going to be demoralizing, right? So they're going to get beat up on the phone because they're not going to be confident. They're going to lack certainty and clarity. And can you imagine being thrown to the wolves like that? These are tough conversations unless you show up fully prepared, totally certain around what you're doing and what you're saying, and so confident that people pick up on that. Because right now in chaos, man, people just find leadership that display certainty.
I love that. In terms of the percentage breakdown, I don't know if you've gotten this data from clients or not. What percentage do you think most people fall into of the 4 categories? How does it break down?
I don't have real hard numbers on it, but I can give you my sense of this because we've been working with hundreds of clients who have been executing this, right? So we created something called the MIA cheat sheet, right? So it's the missing in action cheat sheet. So that's something that I'm happy to give that to people. It's a PDF that has all 4 of those scenarios outlined, where it talks about, here are the 4 different scenarios. These are the 4 different scripts. These are the different calls to action for each one of those people. So if your listeners want that, it's totally gold. And that's what our people have been using for the last 3-4 weeks. And the results have been awesome. So I don't know, Nick, what do we do? Is there
we'll put it into the show notes, and then if you're on Facebook or YouTube, it'll be in there.
Great.
Yeah, just get me the link for that, and I'll make sure that's it. I appreciate that, because that is so helpful to have those scripts to just be able to say, here you go, instead of you having to figure it out. That's right. So, to answer your question, my impression, what I've been hearing through sort of the coconut grapevine here, is about 50% of people are just the distraction factor. All right. So many people, it's amazing. You'll hear, I didn't even know you were open. I just assumed you were closed. It's just so chaotic that everybody's lives are upside down. So, they just need you to reach out and bring some order, right, to them. Right. And then, I think there's probably an equal distribution across the other 3. And, the next set that comes in, you're gonna see that it's the fear factor people that that you've got to just simply, you got to settle their fears, right? So all you got to do is address
make sure that you address the fears that they have. Let them know what you're doing in the office to keep them safe. And the language that we're teaching people is to make sure we do these things to keep you safe so that we can do the things that keep you well, right? So that's what we call our third tier healthcare approach, right? So we do these things to keep you safe so that we can do the things that keep you well. Let's get you in here. That's usually enough to get a person to say, yeah, you know what? Let's make an appointment for next week. I'd love to get back in there, right? So, and then the third part of that is the rule follower. Obviously, sometimes you feel like you're more at effect there. If the governor's saying nobody can do anything, then you're up against a rock and a hard place. But typically, as those rules get relaxed, people are pouring back into the office. Even the rebels are showing up early. The money thing has not been as prevalent as I was afraid of, but truth is, Nick, as I think as we've just come through a storm, I think we're now coming into a bit of a winter. There's going to be a long tail economic impact here. And the doctors that are really well prepared for the upcoming winter's no big deal as long as you've got, warm clothes, great shelter, lots of firewood, right? And some provisions. So we've all got to get ready as a profession and get out in front of this thing so that we can just navigate this winter that's coming just beautifully, right? So our doctors are well prepared for it.
Love that. I have been surprised that there haven't been as many money issues with 40 million people unemployed. I think that the extra money on the unemployment, the PPP has kind of helped keep things kind of afloat. I'll be interested to see what happens come August, September. But yeah, that has not been, at least for our office, hasn't been as big of an issue. We have a lot of like municipal workers, like county, city, state. So those haven't been cut yet. But
yeah, to that point, Nick, because this is a really important point, and I don't feel like anybody's talking about it, right? So we're definitely talking about it, is we got to get ready for this. Just like, like I said, the COVID was sort of a Pearl Harbor moment where no one saw it coming and boom, it was on us, right? Like the meteor getting hit by a meteor. We are pretty certain what we're looking at in the future. Things are going to get better, and I'm a pathological optimist, but I'm also going to be really prepared for what's to come here. And I want to make sure that the doctors recognize that there's all sorts of distractions coming our way. Like we're just coming out of like the acute thing. Now we're rolling into this chronic stage where the distractions of, in the US, at least in this part of the world, it's going to be summertime, right? So that's always a distraction. So you got to be mindful of that, right? So there's a little bit of a numbing effect that the sunshine has. Then it's going to be back to school distraction. Then it's going to be the election. Then it's going to be flu season, right? So there's all sorts of upcoming distractions that we as a profession have to be really prepared for. In fact, we have to be preemptively addressing these things. So that's my future casting for everybody. I want everybody to come through this thing beautifully.
Well, and I agree with all of that. And I also think that, the chances of there being a second wave are pretty good. And, I would guess that the majority of your clients are pretty wellness based, talk a lot about the nervous system. But there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that probably don't do as good a job at educating their patients on the chiropractic lifestyle versus just like what pain can be reduced by chiropractic. Yeah. So I would venture to guess that those practices have been hurt more than the practices that were more family-based, wellness-based, subluxation-based. So what is it that, let's talk to the person that maybe went into this thing a little bit pain-based. What are the things that they can be doing to like shift their communication so that if there is a second wave, that this second time they don't get hammered harder because now they've been talking to their patients about the strength of the host, about the chiropractic lifestyle? Okay,
so number one, there will be a second wave, right? Like this is going to behave like every virus in recorded history. So there will be a second wave. So let's just all expect that, right? You can actually future pace your patients for that. Help them understand this is how viruses behave, right? This is nature. So you can be the soothsayer that says this is what's going to happen, right? So let's just mitigate some of the stress that comes from not predicting things accurately. So it's amazing, how much authority you can carry when you can start accurately predicting things. Of course, you can't predict the amplitude, and that's what we're trying to do. And I'm not talking about flattening the curve, right? The best way to flatten the curve is for people to stay healthy, right? So I know you and I, we're on the same page on that. So as we move into this mobilization phase of things, right? So this is all about a marketing message and bringing a message to your inside community and your outside community. Very often it's going to be digitally, right? But it's really important that we lead with a market message. Now, before I slide into that conversation, I want to address your question. What's most important is that people are authentic. Okay, so if you genuinely believe that people under regular chiropractic care are stronger and healthier than people that are not, that's your message. And I'm just going to encourage everybody to lean into your authenticity. Figure out what it is your genuine message, because that's where all your certainty is going to live. And that's what people will feel and pick up on, is your certainty. Everybody knows it when they're talking to somebody who has certainty, and it's incredibly attractive. So don't change your story. Don't change what you, don't talk about what you don't know about or what you don't believe. That's what people will pick up on. So I just want to kind of put a big warm hug around all my chiros out there and just say, figure out what you are an expert at. How do you strengthen human beings? That's what you want to talk about, and just throw that strike right down the middle, right? If you know that you need to tune up and turn up your education around, wellness lifestyle, or the power of the above down, inside out, the chiropractic principle, whatever it is that you need to ramp up a little bit, work on that as well. But always stay true to your, be genuine in your message, right? That being said, keep it simple. Okay. So here's what we know. This COVID-19 exposed, a few things. Number one, we recognize that we have a virus that's highly contagious to everybody, right? But it's dangerous to a select group of people, right? So it's dangerous to the immunocompromised, the weak people, right? These immunocompromised, there's no mystery anymore. We know who this is dangerous to. We know who ends up in the hospital. We know who ends up in the ICU. We know who ends up dead, right? We know their 5 top comorbidities. We know that it's hypertension. We know that it's dyslipidemia. We know that it's type 2 diabetes, renal disease, and it's coronary artery disease. There's no mystery, okay? We have all of the data. So you need to be telling that story to your patients, but you could say it this way. Who's in trouble is the weak ones, right? So at the end of the day, we know 2 things: that this won't be the last virus that comes to town, and you don't want to be a weak one when it does come to town, right? So when it does come to town, do you want to be one of the strong ones, or do you want to be one of the weak ones, right? So that's it. Keep your talk track really, really simple, and make sure that people understand the value that you deliver to them specifically by helping make sure that they are not immunocompromised, that they're one of the strong ones, not one of the weak ones.
I love that. In when we were talking about the messaging, this is, God, man, if there isn't a time for chiropractors to be creating solid content around the chiropractic lifestyle, I don't know when was. This is just a golden opportunity. What I fear is I've never seen more chiropractic content produced than in the last 2 months. What I fear is that when people get back to their office and start getting busy again, the content goes out the window, because they were creating a lot of content because they had no real control over anything, and they had a lot of time on their hands. Now when they start getting busy again, will they continue to get that message out there? And man, there's no better message for this virus or any other virus than living a healthy lifestyle that is based on the principles that we all, most of us live our lives by.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I love you, and I love what you do at Leverage. The idea of driving great content that's relevant into the community, it is the simplest and purest way to get highly pre-qualified people who are looking for what it is you do. So as long as you organize your content well and you deliver a message that's congruent and aligned with exactly how you like to practice, you're just going to attract the right people into the practice, right? So I know that this is your message and I'm drifting into your expertise, but the best practice that I've seen that works really well is to make sure you have the discipline of creating a content calendar for yourself. Put together an outline and say, this is what I'm going to be doing videos on in third quarter 2020, and just outline it. Here are the 36 videos I am going to create. And once you have an outline, you say, okay, so put it against the calendar and just have the discipline to say, you know what, every Friday I'm going to film for 4 hours or 2 hours or whatever it is. I'm going to knock out my content and I'm going to be done with it. And I'm going to drip it out as you teach, right? Which is exactly how to do it. And it would be a huge misstep and a shame for people to miss the opportunity that we have right now, because everyone's got their ears open. Everybody's looking for a better way to better health. Everyone's looking for better strategies and tactics. And there's going to be a window of opportunity here that we've got to seize.
We do. And content is the only thing that's going to create patients out of thin air. And especially for those of you that are dependent on in-person, and we'll talk about this in the mobilization, for those of you that are dependent on in-person, close contact with people, those opportunities may not be there as much as we would like over the next 6 months. So we have to be delivering our message virtually. We have to be doing it digitally. We have to be going to the patients where they're at. We've got to show up when they're searching, and we've got to be giving them good quality content. And it doesn't have to be political. It can just be focused on the things that are the truth, that are the truth, that are the truth. There is no one side or the other on whether you should eat less sugar. So talk about that stuff. Talk about those 5 comorbidities. Talk about how people can utilize strategies that are going to help them. Don't worry about whether COVID deaths are undercounted or overcounted. Just focus on the things that are actually going to matter. Like, the government's going to keep doing what it's going to do. The WHO is going to do what it's going to do. Bill Gates is going to do what he's going to do. You can focus on the things that you know about and that your patients can be serviced by. And I think if you create content around that, man, you're going to win.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, ultimately you just have to ask your question. Is this going to make patients say, I need to go see Dr. Nick? That's the question you need to ask yourself when you're posting content. You might make a statement that you get a lot of likes and you made a big splash and you made some noise about some conspiracy theory, you got into politics and you got all kinds of commentary, usually from the people that are already coming to see you, right? And I guess there is some level of value in that when you're personal brand building and everything, but leave that inside of your own private forum on Facebook, right? When you're marketing, talk about them.
Yes.
Again, Nick, I apologize. I'm drifting into your expertise here, but you talk about what they're listening to, what they're listening for, right? So talk about them. They don't care about your political views. They're not going to come and see you because they agree with your political views. Right. You can certainly lose people because they don't agree with your political views, but you're not going to come to see people because they said, wow, that's an interesting conspiracy theory. I guess I should go see a chiropractor. They're not going to make that neural connection, right? So all you got to talk about is, these are the problems that we solve for people, and we're really good at solving these problems, and these are the results we get for people. Like, to speak into their listening, and the power of what we've been teaching with that 3rd-tier healthcare, it's been really effective. So as we move,
you mentioned that twice. Can you explain that, because I do love that.
So as we go into this mobilization, the mobilization is marketing, right? It's like going back out into the community, and the community is looking for a better way to better health, right? So you show up with this as an expert in this uniqueness, right? So called 3rd-tier healthcare. So the way we teach it is there's 3 tiers to healthcare. There's the lowest tier of healthcare, the 1st tier, which is the treatment of disease, which is wait for people to get sick and treat them to keep people from dying, right? Then there's the 2nd phase, or the 2nd tier of healthcare, which is the prevention of disease, which is about keeping people safe, right? Wash your hands, social distancing, no hugs and high fives, hide at home, right? So that's prevention of disease. And the truth is everyone's talking about these 2 things, right? That's what everyone's talking about. Nobody's talking about the 3rd tier of healthcare, which is the promotion of health, which is about keeping people well. This is about the strength of the host. This is our blue ocean, Nick. This is the place where we get to show up, and we have the strategies, we have the solutions, we have the methodologies. This is where we can be the expert in this space. And the beauty and most powerful part of this is you don't have to make these experts wrong for you to be right. Okay. So your voice is going to be so loud here because they're going to be like, finally, somebody's talking about something that I can do. And it feels good because I can actually take back some control. I can actually have some influence on this. This is actually something that I can do. It's not passive. I'm not going to sit back and wait. Hopefully some white knight's going to show up and rescue me. It's actually, I can take some action and I can help myself and my family. 3rd-tier healthcare.
Love that. So on the mobilization side of things, what are you recommending? What are some of the things that your best clients are utilizing?
So when it comes to marketing, we typically teach internal, external, and digital, right? So internal, inside the practice, working with your existing patient base and getting referrals. Then there's external, which is you go outside your practice and you do things like corporate wellness and spinal screenings, outside talks and dinner talks, etc. Right? So classic external marketing, all based on networking. And then there's digital marketing, right? So digital marketing is your SEO, your website, your Google AdWords, your Google My Business, your Facebook ads, your content marketing. webinars, Facebook Lives, etc. Everything that you would do leveraging the internet, right? So that's considered digital marketing. My observation is, as we move through this timeline, right now, everyone, almost everybody, their community is ready to hear some internal marketing. And a lot of that internal marketing is that value creation around why they should be there. But also, in addition, who do you know? Who do you know that's immunocompromised? Who do you know that's weak? Who do you know that's got one of those 5 comorbidities? So it's all internal marketing, right? And then it's time now, as we move, instead of going external, in my opinion, that most communities aren't ready for you to jump out into the community. It's going to be hard to get a group of people together, assemble a group of 100 people in a business, or do a dinner talk, or big spinal screenings. Those road races and farmers markets are all canceled. It's like, so external marketing is not ready. We're not ready for external marketing really yet as an initiative. I think we're going to save that for like the fall, October, November, December, etc. In this interim period, it's going to be all about digital. Okay, it's going to be all about digital marketing, and it's such a big part of that is the content marketing strategy. And one of my favorites is the webinar, and we're teaching that Bulletproof Your Immune System webinar, which has just been a home run for our clients.
Yeah, we've got a few of our clients are not a few, several of our clients are TRP docs that are some have been doing the weekly, or I'm sorry, the monthly the body signals workshops in their office, and now they're just taking those online. But even the ones that weren't doing the regular body signals are starting to do the Boost Your Immunity, and had awesome success with that. So that's such a good webinar to be out there right now. Because again, like, who's sitting at home not wishing that their immune system was functioning even a little bit better than they think it is, So, so tools are useful.
The truth is that, like you said, so many of the docs on the line here are kind of, they might feel like a little bit of a fish out of water on this and being like, yeah, well, my expertise is in, disc issues and neuritis. I love a carpal tunnel doc, or I love headaches, or whatever. Fantastic. Guess what? There's so many sick and suffering people out there, more than ever, right? So many people that are just facing all this stress. Of course, this is a great amplifier on all of their issues, or they've been procrastinating because they're terrified to be going into the hospital, or whatever. Like, this is the prime time for all of us. Everyone needs to be jumping into this, right? So if you're not comfortable doing a Boost Your Immune System workshop or Bulletproof Your Immune System, right? No worries. Just make sure that you're in the conversation, okay? And the conversation that's happening in your community right now is, I don't want to be one of the weak ones. What do I need to do to become one of the strong ones?
Exactly. That's such a good way of framing it, even for like the doctor's mind of how should I be structuring my content to be, or my messaging to get out to those potential patients. Because again, there's, I forgot to ask or mention in the reactivation side of it, it's not just about reactivating the people that, stopped coming in on March 16th. It's the people that stopped coming in on March 16th, 2016, that had come in 16 times. They still have good feelings towards you. They still think of you as their doctor. You reach out to them. That's such a great opportunity for you to be touching base with them. And then on the mobilization side of it, when you start pushing this content out, it's not just going to be new people that see your content. It's going to be people that you haven't thought about seeing in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that are now like, hey, you know what? I do need to get back in there. Or they're sharing it with their friend, because it's so much, it's hard to share the experience that you get from a spinal screening with your friend that you work with. It's very easy to tag them in a Facebook video. It's easy to share something with them on YouTube or on Instagram. So putting that message out there, the mobilization side of things, this is the time for chiropractors to step forward as leaders. Because I mean, there's not going to be any MDs out there that are trying to like mobilize the community. Yeah, there's not going to be dentists. There's not going to be PTs out there mobilize. Like, this is our time to really step forward as the leaders that the profession was like built on. Like they were pillars in the community.
It's so funny that you said that, because I was at Home Depot last weekend. And I was going there to buy a chainsaw, and that's why I had to grow this beard out, right? So I couldn't go buy a chainsaw without having a little bit of a growth going on there. It looked a little too much like a yuppie, all clean shaven.
Well, Doc, like, if you go in there clean shaven, they're going to think it's your first chainsaw, with the beard, they're like, this must be his 7th one. He's probably burned those other 6 out.
I had actually done a little homework online before I went in there, and I felt so cool because I got to give the guy next to me, who was more hopeless than I was buying a chainsaw, I actually gave him some real salient advice, and he looked at me, he's like, how do you know that? I'm like, is this your first chainsaw? Anyway, I end up in the parking lot, and I see a buddy of mine, husband and wife, and I don't have a mask on. I'm walking outside it, and they're getting out of the car, and they have a mask on. He's a neurosurgeon, and she's a former nurse, right? So they're all masked up. Our kids are good friends. So I start talking to him, and we're buddies. So he's talking to me through the mask. Finally, he takes the mask off, and we just shooting the shit. And I was just like, we had this conversation that you and I were just having about the MDs aren't. They're right now. There's no plan. They're not like changing their messaging. We're not going to reach out to people and talk to them about how they've got to change their lifestyles, all these comorbidities, all of these chronic diseases just went from something to be managed to it's an acute crisis and you've got a target on your chest. Like, so I'm having this conversation with him, and he goes, yeah, you know what? But just people, they're not compliant. They won't follow those recommendations. And I looked at him and grabbed his mask, and I was like, I'm actually pretty amazed at how compliant people are when properly motivated. And he looked at me, I go, now you tell me that if your industry got together and said to everybody, look at these comorbidities are no joke, right? This immunocompromised thing is something that can be corrected, right? You got everybody to shut down the world for 9-10 weeks. Everybody's now walking around with masks on. Nobody's shaking hands, hugging, high five, 50 people in a restaurant. People are amazingly, compliant when they're properly motivated. So, that's what I want to leave with here, Nick, is that it's the person who has the most certainty and clarity and conviction is the one that leads the tribe. And this is our opportunity as chiropractors to step into that gap with truth and give people real direction, give them real strategies that drive real health outcomes.
Love that, man. So you guys have put this Phoenix plan together. There's video training, there's scripts, there's all of that. The website is theremarkablepractice.com/Phoenix plan. They can go there and find out all the information about that as well.
Yeah, everything's there, Nick. There's a laundry list. You just heard us go through, the 3 stages of the Phoenix plan. Everything is there. There's 8 hours of content on these 3 stages. Every resource that I named, all the trainings for you and for your team, for your CAs, for your associate doctors, all the marketing materials, all the content, PowerPoint decks, the scripting, all the marketing assets that you need, all the trainings that came in from our partners, our content partners on Facebook private groups, Facebook Lives, webinars, ClickFunnels, trainings with Roberto Monaco on how to be more influential and persuasive in your communications. He and I actually go slide by slide through that Bulletproof Your Immune System workshop. So we teach exactly what to say, how to say it, why you're saying it that way. You get the sample webinar from 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗂, who's got a massive practice in Australia doing the Bulletproof webinar. So you get to see him do it. Plus,
and a great presenter.
And he's unbelievable. And you get a month of private coaching with one of our TRP coaches, which, as you know, is $1,200 on its own, right? Yeah. So this product is unbelievably priced. It's so cheap, Charlie, but we're trying to get it into the hands of every single chiropractor. You get access to our TRP Academy for 60 days. You get access to all of our manuals. You name it, you get it. It's all soup to nuts package. Get after it.
When I saw because it's one thing, because I saw the content that's in the Phoenix plan, and that's amazing in and of itself. But then you get all of the other stuff that comes along with TRP as part of it as like bonuses, and that I just think that the TRP Academy, especially, you get 60 days with that, you can change your practice.
That's right.
That's right. All right, Doc. Is there anything else that you wanted to impart on the listeners out there?
Yeah, just sending them love. I just love and appreciate everybody for all you do and just being part of the solution. And I know that, so these times can just be super challenging and draining, but just know that the work that you do is so important. Your community so desperately needs you, always has, now more than ever. So just sending some love from the Remarkable Practice, and, please reach out. Let us know how we can help you. You are not alone. We got doctors all around the world. There's probably somebody in your town that we can help hook you up with. Plus, there's hundreds and hundreds of doctors in our Remarkables organization. that would love to come alongside you, who are like-minded on purpose and are very generous with their help. So let us help you.
Love that, man. And I love everything you do for the profession. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all this hard work that you and your team did to just like stopping your entire business and all the plans that you have and just being like, all right, now we're doing this. And it was amazing how fast it came together and how well it came together. So that is a testament to the leader of that tribe for sure.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
All right, man. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy.